Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and greetings and salutations, and welcome to this edition of the Women of BSV. Today we have the most amazing person that I've seen present for a long time, who is Michael, and I apologize if I do get the pronunciation of your surname wrong. It's a Nigerian surname, so it's Michael Olagunju,
There we
who
go.
is the founder and CEO of Airmaths. And I met Michael at the Block Dojo, and I think your platform is absolutely wonderful and amazing. And you did a brilliant presentation, which was really moving as well, especially the bit where you thanked your mother for basically being there for you and supporting you. But let's get into who are you and a little bit about your background and how you came up with this amazing idea for Airmath.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a British-born Nigerian. Thank you for the warm intro. That's really good. And you smashed the pronunciation of my name, Olagunju, Olagunju. Those variations they work. So yeah, really good there. But yeah, so I'm a British-born Nigerian. I come from a humble background. I was born and raised in West London. Where I studied in a state school, and I did really well academically until I got to around about my A levels, where I saw a significant drop in my maths grades. The problem for me is that our family couldn't afford the luxury of a tutor.
Yeah.
So luckily, my mum found this amazing YouTube channel called Exam Solutions. Had thousands of videos. They were bite-sized, small videos. You know, our generation, we want to consume things quickly,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you call it kind of like the microwave generation. But it was perfect for me because there were 10-minute videos that taught me concepts that my class in school would take like hours to teach. So I used that as my main resource, and it helped me to get an A in my A level maths,
Oh,
and then
fantastic.
yeah, thanks, and then go on to achieve a first class honors degree in maths. So and that was a free resource. Exam Solutions was free, and for me it was kind of a turning point because it showed me that sometimes it can take just one thing, or a teacher, the right teacher or the right resource to
Yeah.
really move the needle in a child's education and subsequently their lives, because my life has taken a completely crazy trajectory since. After the degree, I went into trading, where I worked in the
Okay.
city. Yeah, I was one of those guys, those big hitting
London
city.
financial trading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was one of those kind of Jack the Laddie guys, walk in the office and, all right, guys, who's making 10 grand today kind of thing. No, I'm joking. Um, it was good. I enjoyed it. We traded. I was in two trading jobs. I first of all was in an options market making firm where we traded German interest rates. I love numbers, and it was all about kind of numbers, trading different price levels. Really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, got made redundant from that role, and
Okay.
then moved on to another role where I spent a couple of years working with a was really relaxed. We could trade different assets that were correlating. It was a pairs trading strategy or mean reversion. Really enjoyed it, but I found that my passion was really skewed towards education and helping more students like me who were disadvantaged, and you know I felt that I believe that there are so many opportunities that can be realized for students if they get the right access.
Right. Yeah.
So
And actually,
yeah.
so just chipping in. I mean, when you've been there yourself, you
Mhm.
know what it is and what's needed and how to actually, because I remember when I was at school as well, there were certain things that were quite difficult for me as well. But if it, like you said, the right person, the right resource, and then that actually boosts a lot of your confidence as well. Because I find a lot of kids, they lose confidence when they really struggle with a certain subject.
Mhm.
So you kind of going through that yourself, you can see how like it's almost like a mentorship, a counselling kind of role as well that you're playing, because it's not only about the learning of the math, it's also about personal development as well, and then bringing the confidence out in kids and showing them that actually there are so many opportunities that you might not be aware of at this moment. So I think that's a beautiful thing that you did.
That's right. And, there are, we are looking at ways to, kind of take students from, the education system into the workforce as well.
Yeah,
And really bring that into the curriculum, where we're showing people the application of their learning.
yeah,
And that's the kind of
So
thing that
important. Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that gets students excited. And
yeah.
you know
And they're the missing links, aren't they, at school as well? It's like you say, because it's learn, 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 learn. But actually, then how am I going to apply this in the real world when I get out into actually having to work in business, etc.? So
I know my son, he's I've got two sons. The oldest is doing A-level physics at the minute, and he's constantly telling me how when he's using maths that he uses programming, because he's a keen programmer, he knows exactly what he's doing and he loves it. So if only they could connect the practical and the theoretical in school a bit more, I bet, and kids could see the maths and the shapes it's creating and so on. Like it comes to life, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it comes to life, and you give the learning a meaning, and that's what we're trying to do with with our curriculum essentially. But just good to go back to your point with confidence. We are trying to, confidence is such a vital part of learning. And it's momentum that keeps you engaged, really. It's when you get something right, you want to get more right. It's almost like a drug, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're keying into our business, our core values, and also our technology as well. We'll probably talk about that sort of later on, but we're making, the system so that, it's engaging for everyone at every level, and it gives people, essentially will understand whatever level you are, what you need in order to be engaged, and subsequently, continue learning and improving. So
do you find as well that because some people are auditory learners and some people are visual learners, so is there a massive difference when you're, well, I mean, there is, but I'm just wondering from your perspective, how does that affect the kind of mentorship if somebody's an auditory learner and somebody's a visual learner?
So, I mean, really good question. How do I answer that question? I think, if you're an auditory learner, you typically would want, what like
YouTube videos, right?
YouTube videos, but again, you could argue that that's visual as well. I would say there are, from the data, there are, kind of a few types of learners, people that prefer to kind of, understand the fundamentals and practice, so they like to read and write essentially. We also have, the kind of visual learners that need, it to be brought to some kind of imagery or audio. Whereby they're listening to whether it's a podcast or whether it's a video, etc. But the idea of what we're doing is to really understand the way students learn. I think that's the next level of education. Aside from just a one size fits all, everybody has different needs, and
so you tweak kind of lessons for whatever learning ability that the students have, so there would be separate kind of lessons that are tweaked for auditory or tweaked for visual, really, so that they would get the best out of what it is that you've got to offer within the site. So they
well, not auditory just yet, but we are looking into just audio on itself. But what we're thinking at the moment is if you have a video, you have audio there as well. It probably works better. So what we do is, we understand what the way you prefer to learn, and we will provide you with content relative to your preferred learning style, B, the way you're interacting with our platform, how are you taking tests, We have a dynamic rating system, which essentially matches, from the ratings, then matches you with the relevant content, and also your budget. We are, I think for me, one of the fundamental kind of mission, or the mission of our business, is to be able to provide high quality education for all. So we're serving students right from, the disadvantaged backgrounds and underrepresented communities, all the way up to private school students who, can afford those tutors that are they cost like £55 per hour. So,
yeah, and one-on-one. Tell us about the different models you've got then, because I was having a look today, and it looks like you can have lessons with friends or with other people, and reduce the cost.
Yeah, so we have two different models which are complementary, or two different products to start with, right? One is the tuition product, which I started with in 2019. We essentially provide one-to-one tutoring and group lessons online for STEM subjects. We've, since we started in 2019, we've got to 100 plus qualified STEM tutors, a very selective process to make sure that, they're not just smart, right? We don't want people that are just smart. We want people that are engaging as well. We want people that have personalities that are eccentric. We want people from diverse backgrounds, that have a story to tell. And that's why I have interviewed individually all the 107 tutors that we have, because that's like one of the main stipulations for me. So we've grown, kind of organically to that stage. So it's a kind of simple model there. People call in, they request, they tell us about their problems, they tell us about where their child is struggling, they tell us about their budget, and then we would match them with a tutor that we think is suitable for them. And then along the way, so a year after I started Airmaths in 2019, I saw an opportunity to acquire Exam Solutions, which was the resource that I used.
That's what you used, right? Yeah. Cool.
The kind of full circle experience. Really, I think it's serendipity. Mainly, I attribute to that. Like, I had approached the guy who founded it, and he was like a celebrity to me. Because imagine listening to about 1,000 videos before your A-level exam.
Voice.
Yeah, his voice. Yeah.
When I was a kid, which was a very long time ago, on the BBC of all places, there was a program called Think by Numbers, and there was a guy called Johnny Ball. Now his daughter is Zoe Ball. She was a radio DJ. I love Johnny Ball.
I love Johnny Ball. Amazing.
Yeah. He made math really fun.
Do you remember he used to run around the stage and like be revealing numbers from all around the stage and stuff? He was like constantly like rushing about. He just made the whole thing like, just totally fun. I mean, it could have been like an art program. It was that kind of madness, wasn't it?
I met him a good number of years ago, but like you, to me, he was a massive celebrity, and I was sat there drawing a portrait of him, and he was stood behind me watching me draw this portrait, and I had no idea. He was stood there for about 7 minutes watching me, and he gave me his email and said, "Can you send it me? It's really good." So I was like, "Oh, it's one of my heroes." I loved it.
I think the real question is why you were drawing a portrait of your teacher.
Yeah, because that's what I do. I draw portraits of people I admire. I do a lot of, but yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's a good point you make. Now, I mean, I unfortunately don't know who Johnny Ball is.
Well, I didn't think you would.
No, before your time. We're talking about the 80s here. Yeah,
but it's the same thing. He was like, for me, he was a celebrity, and he was math, and he made it really engaging and really fun, and it really helped with the learning process.
I mean, one thing that strikes to me is that you guys haven't forgot him.
No, that's exactly. Nice. Yeah,
you remember his name.
Yeah,
and you have a real sense of appreciation for him. And that's what really every teacher, every good teacher desires, and that's where the passion comes from, because we know that we can take students to a place where hopefully one day they'll just, it doesn't even need to be communication, but just a thank you or appreciation for
Name drop you, yeah, somewhere
yeah,
along the line, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and with Exam Solutions gives us the opportunity to reach millions of students. The acquisition was, of course, to take over a channel that I used, which is extremely inspiring for me to take it to the next level, but also strategically to the channel was already getting millions of students a year. It has about 200,000 230,000 YouTube subscribers, and the reach there is humongous.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've gone from tutoring one-to-one lessons at home or online to tutoring thousands and
I know,
thousands of
that's
students. And
incredible.
for me, it's more rewarding than anything when you just see a comment that says, thank you so much, you helped me with my exams.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's the juice for me. That's really
I
the
know,
juice.
And
absolutely.
I get the impression. I mean, obviously, if it was your reach isn't just the UK, then you're talking worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have around 80% of our students are based in the UK. The remaining are spread across India, GCC countries like Dubai, Bahrain, also the US as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, in our in the roadmap, we're definitely thinking about moving to those countries, especially GCC countries. We're also interested in Africa as well.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a lot of potential there.
There's a huge potential there, and there's all this technology, and we have really, really cutting edge technology that really kind of puts us apart from our competitors. But
Yeah,
ultimately,
explain
people
that
are
to next, yeah.
yeah. But we'll come on to that. Ultimately, people just want a good resource or a good teacher,
Yeah,
and that's what it comes down to. And the majority of parents are results driven. The majority of students are results driven, and that's what we are helping students with at present. Yeah.
So we've got two websites. I'm going to just put this is airmathstuition.com. Yeah. So this is yours. This is the one that you started. Yeah.
That's the one that I
And,
started. Yeah.
and then we've got examsolutions.net. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So Ruth, I think you've got something that you wanted to share on screen.
Well,
Can we have?
I was just going to have a quick look at the websites because it,
Yeah.
helps you recognize it next time you see it. And
So this is Exam
this is the one that
Solutions.
you acquired,
Yeah, that's the website that I acquired.
and that's wonderful. That's the kind of thing that my kids would really enjoy using. Actually, I mean, I really wanted you to have you on our show because my kids are 13 and 17, so they're like really key ages to bump up their maths ability.
Well, I was going to say there is no age limit either. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old niece, and I think this would be great to sort of like buy her like a year's worth of tuition or something, and then
Yeah,
that
but
would
you
be
get
great.
these crunch points though in kids' lives when they really need it like now, or else they're gonna not get the mark that they could get, or whatever. So like, I
Yeah,
just
you definitely get the panic periods,
yeah.
and yeah, things get very busy from next month onwards. You get very, very desperate parents and students who as always leave things too late. But just to this is the current live website, but with the model we're moving on to, we are so that's the content website. It's got a huge library of resources, around 4,000 videos, 10,000 auto-marked questions. And as I said earlier, it's built a huge community. We also have the tutoring website, Airmaths.
I might have to. Oh no, I've got it there. Yeah.
So essentially, that's a directory of tutors that we have hired through our network, and people come onto the website. They see a tutor of preference, and they call in and say, "Hey, we'd like to have a tutor with this, a session with this tutor," and then we simply just match them. So What we're doing in terms of kind of moving forward, we're building an education platform that's going to integrate both of these product offerings that are complementary, and it's going to use AI to predict students' grades,
Okay.
and then
That's awesome.
and
Yeah.
then subsequently recommend content and
Yeah.
tutoring to help the students level up to next grade.
Assuming then if the AI is doing the predictions, because obviously everything's going to be like, you know, numbers based, and they're looking at how they're doing so far, then you can see areas wherein they're struggling, so you know what to concentrate on to actually get those grades up to where they should be and everything. So how is it that you've integrated the AI then? Is it, I mean, do you do the coding and stuff as well? Are you?
No, I'm not a techie. You know, we leave the techie stuff to the techie people in our team. Okay, so how the AI works? So the AI is based on a model, a special model called the ELO rating model, which is actually used to match chess players of equal skill level.
Oh, sweet.
Essentially, the theory is that you only really improve in a skill level if you are challenged by something that's slightly better than you.
Yeah.
Right.
Not too much better than you, not too much worse than you. That's probably the easiest way to put it. So this ELO rating model, essentially, we're using, as opposed to chess, where we have the student versus our questions, and we're using that as a means to match students with the right questions.
So you're kind of tracking them along.
Correct. Yeah. So we dynamically rate them based on their performance on the platform. And from these ratings, we're then able to extrapolate how they're going to perform in the future. And that's how we come up with their predicted grades. This model has, it's been successful in other verticals such as gaming, even dating as well. But there's huge efficacy with what we're doing. So we launched the e-learning questions in March last year. And, not only were they successful in terms of uptake, we had thousands of students taking these questions, but we sampled about 200 of them. And around about 80, we back tested the model on around 200 students, and we're able to achieve around 85% accuracy on predictions.
Wow.
So we've got efficacy on the model, and that's just like, a year of data. This only improves as we continue to collect more data and understand more about students.
I mean, this can be a big deal. I remember when I was at school, the predicted grades that I was given actually fed into the university places I was applying for and things. So, and I often found myself that the teachers were way off in their predictions.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that since the lockdown, where in the UK curriculum for these kind of exam years, GCSE and A-level, 15 to 18-year-olds, predictions have improved from where they were, because there was a period where there were no exams. There was a year where there were no exams, and therefore teachers had to literally give students grades, and they needed to have some kind of
that's crazy. Yeah, that we actually did that. Yeah.
It has improved. However, there is still no data-driven method as to how to kind of produce these predicted grades. And we're really happy with the results that we found, and that's why we're investing into this model. Going forward for the future, and we're actually launching this platform, this new platform, or I should say relaunching in March. In terms of why we're using predictive grades is, there's a whole lot of value we can get from that. So, if you're able to say to a student, if if you're to take the test today, we think you're going to get a B, right? Because we know the learning objectives, we know the traditional learning curve of an A grade student, we can say, well, we recommend these precise learning tasks to help you level up to next grade.
Yeah.
And there's even more value, than recommending content or tutoring. We could then say to the student, we think it will take you around 20 hours to get there.
Yeah.
You know, the whole point is to make these goals tangible. You
Right.
know,
Yes.
think about when you're running a,
Hmm.
I can't imagine this because I haven't done it yet, but running a marathon, for example, right?
Hmm.
Think about the motivation levels when you see the finish line versus when you're like midway or through the race, right? You can't
Yeah.
see the finish line there. So it's probably less motivating. And so what we're trying to do is, you know, use data to increase the confidence in our recommendations, but also from our students, so that they know that all they need to do is take, math, just a little bit of maths a day.
Show up. Just show up for the
Show up,
lessons. Yeah.
exactly.
And then
And
they can see their path in front of them.
there is a clear
Yeah.
path where you don't have to panic buy, as you were referring to,
Yeah.
Ruth, earlier.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we're moving into a subscription model. Because we've looked at some ed techs like Duolingo, for example, who've acquired up to over 500 million users by gamifying their platform really well.
Yeah.
And showing students that take this, and you can, all you need is this much of learning, and then you can get to this next level.
Next badge or whatever. Yeah.
You get some kind of virtual reward. We're also offering cash rewards for students that take part in our tests. It's we are, what separates our model is that we're extremely data dependent. It's the provision of content and tutoring is almost completely led by data, versus our competitors. And so we are looking at ways of incentivizing students to actually take part in their test, and also to submit their grades, their outside of platform performance, so that we know, we can learn as much about these students, so as much as possible, so we can help them.
And is this where BSV comes in?
Question as well was going to be like, how did you come across the Block Dojo, and where does BSV come in? So
Yeah.
great question, Ruth.
Yeah, so I was actually recommended to the Block Dojo by a connection. And I wanted to explore ways of, I've always been interested in blockchain technology. I wanted to explore ways that we could implement blockchain into edtech and our business. I wanted to see what we could do, basically. I also felt that we needed a little bit of tightening on our model, something that would separate us from our competitors, because it is a competitive market. And we were looking to raise our pre-seed round. So found out about the Block Dojo, and found it to be something of an opportunity for us. So joined the Block Dojo, great mentorship, managed to acquire some great talent there, and also investment, which was great. One thing we learned about an application or a use case from the BSV is those payments, essentially. So we're incentivizing students to submit their data. We're going to be doing this via the BSV blockchain, because relative to your PayPal, for example, those micropayments essentially way cheaper than.
And they can just tick up as well, can't they? You don't have to kind of give it all in one go, so they can see that incremental path in front of them, like putting treats down on the ground
Exactly.
in front of a kid. Yeah.
I mean, people seem hyper engaged with virtual rewards. We can see that with Duolingo. Imagine these become physical rewards, real rewards, and that's what we're trying to do with this BSV project.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
We believe the future is bright. as a standalone business, because we're very, very bullish on our team, the content, the technology, the outreach, the community. We have a very strong one. But I think that, Rishi Sunak's announcement to make maths compulsory for 16 to 18-year-olds, as, a company with a huge domain in maths, domain expertise in maths, it's very positive as a business.
And frankly, a lot of kids who perhaps wouldn't otherwise have taken maths till that age are going to need some tutoring, right?
Most probably.
Yeah.
Most probably. It's very it's good for us as a business, I must say. But I also will say that there's a difference between maths and numeracy.
Yeah.
So making numeracy compulsory is something that, numeracy being, those functional skills are actually applicable in the real world, such as if you're learning percentages, where can you use percentages in your life?
Loads of places. Yeah.
Want to give us some examples?
Oh, well, bank, look at your bank rate and if you're trying to invest for your pension, right?
There you go. So
Yeah.
that was me on teacher mode there. Sorry.
I felt that.
Yeah, you did really well there. You did amazing. Diddy, do you want to give us some?
Well, I would say mortgages and I mean, even if you're just going around shopping and you're in the supermarket, I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm always constantly, well, okay, so the big pack over here is actually more expensive than if I buy two of the same thing at the individual price than it is at the supposed bargain price, so things like that really as well, which a lot of people don't do. They just put in the basket, but I'm adding everything up as I'm putting it in and everything. So there are little things like that. Percentages, obviously, mortgage rates, your tax return.
It's all through your life, isn't it?
Your national insurance, percentage of what your wages, etc. as well. So, it is a big thing. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, firstly, you guys smashed those examples. Secondly, I will say that, those, I think that's the area, those are the areas that I think should be compulsory.
Yeah, I agree.
If you think about
life skill stuff. Yeah.
Life skills, yeah. I mean, you think about your students who are more inclined to the arts and literature, for example, they won't need to know some concepts in A-level.
Like vector maths or whatever, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess vectors. I mean, you could always argue that there's a use case of maths
absolutely in anything, yeah.
In anything, however, I think that there are more kind of apparent use cases with, things like ratios and percentages that you guys have identified. So I think it's all in all, I think it's positive. I think that what would be, we're yet to see guidance on that announcement, so we don't know exactly how it's going to pan out, and I guess we will react to that. I've got a feeling that it's going to be related to functional skills. And we're already looking at ways to incorporate that in our curriculum. And by that I mean, almost every topic we are building small videos on. Okay, so where can you use this in the real world to make it more pervasive? Because as there's so much disengagement with maths because there's no meaning to what people are doing.
Even just like compounding interest and compounding interest, rule of 72, all of that kind of stuff, that when people see how that actually works in terms of saving for their pension or saving into an ISA or reinvesting the profits and all that kind of stuff, I mean, it's so compelling. It's so compelling. Any young person would be very excited to see that the date that they start saving matters probably more than anything else. How early you begin, because of the doublings and I mean all those kind of things are tremendously exciting, but also really useful for your life. So yeah, I agree with you. If you can focus on what I think of as the exciting maths.
I'll tell you.
No, I was just going to second what you've mentioned. I mean, if I had known about setting up an ISA earlier,
right. If we'd all have known, yeah.
Would have done it ages ago.
Yeah. Perhaps not bothered with the pension, right?
We weren't taught that in school,
no.
you know.
No.
We weren't taught about how to invest in school. We weren't taught about taxes. These are things that really affect
fees, investment fees. I mean, it makes such a big difference to the amount that you get out at the end. You know, it's just all these really granular things that on their own sound boring, but then when you can like illustrate it with a graph that shows if I invest, £100 a month from age 20 versus age 30 versus age 40, and you're seeing the graph go up to, £1 million or £4 million, or what, you can see that small decisions, early decisions, make huge differences to the result in the end. And I think all that stuff it's exciting apart from anything else. It's like when I can finally get excited about maths, which is basically never, but in that situation, I get it. It's like, I'm motivated.
I mean, what you highlighted are two things. I think one is the, pervasiveness of maths, which is, these things really can affect you and they can help to improve
your life. Yeah.
But another thing that I think is really important for learning is, finding ways to represent these concepts visually, reporting them in a way that, people can digest really easily, and, with this new platform that we're building, I feel like I'm selling again. With this new platform that we're building, we genuinely have world-class analytics where students can see their growth curve. They can literally see, it's a live feed of how they're performing. They can also see exactly where they are relative to other students in the national curriculum.
Oh, wow.
And, as we said earlier, they can see exactly how much time it's going to take them to get to their desired grade. And, seeing things visually sometimes can give you a level of psychological safety that, really can't be explained sometimes. Look at Uber. Motivation, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the reason why so many people invest in like an Uber is because, they know, once you order your Uber, you know exactly where that Uber is. You can see it coming to you on the map. That gives you a little bit of, it kind of de-stresses you in a way. But then after that, regardless of where you're going or the traffic on the way, exactly how much you're going to pay. It's not going to change once you've agreed the fare.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the kind of value we're providing to parents as well. By being able to calculate the time it's going to take a student to level up, we can subsequently calculate the costs, the exact cost. And so essentially what we're trying to do is make our learning platform almost an investment machine for parents, where they can say,
the return on their investment, right?
Exactly. My child is on a C. Airmaths have told me that all I need to invest is £250 to get my child to a B, and I have a 90 or 90+% confidence that that's going to happen. And that's the kind of value we're looking to add to.
And then you can decide that you're going to put that money aside and spend it on that. I mean, it makes the whole thing a kind of a no-brainer, doesn't it? Because everybody's so kind of, tight for money at the minute. You've got to have that clear picture in your mind of, like you say, what it's going to cost and what you're going to potentially get out of it in order to sort of make the sacrifices.
100%. I mean, with the problem with the current, way things are running is that, typically a parent will call up a tutoring agency. The tutoring agency will quote a fee. They will then match the tutor with the student. But the parent doesn't know when the child is going to get to the next or the target level.
Yeah.
And B, that means, inherently that their spending is uncapped.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is cap the spending. So, I think there's a massive ethical part of what we're doing. And, as well as, the kind of the techie and the thing we're doing to help students' grades.
Yeah. I was going to come from a different angle when Ruth said. I was thinking more about, because I love ancient history, right? So I like the pyramids and, you know,
Yeah.
the golden ratio and stuff like that. So I was thinking about trigonometry, because obviously that's a branch of mathematics as well, but it deals with, like, you know, engineering, navigation, surveying, architecture, astronomy and stuff. So people, you know, it's like math is actually such a broad subject used in so many different areas, you know, like, so they're the kind of things that interest me, the problems related to sort of angles and distance and heights and stuff like that as well. So yeah. So they're
Yeah.
areas of sort of, you're saying about gamification and gamifying it, you know, so for the students that are interested in those kind of creative areas, then for me that would be a way to sort of gamify that, to make it more interesting for them visually. You know, you've got a pyramid here, so let's look at what kind of, you know, golden ratios, what kind of angles, what kind of you know, distances and are we looking at there, you know, things like that.
I mean, firstly, it sounds like you sound like you're very good at maths.
I'm not. No, I'm very good at like watching things and being it like visually. I'm a visual person, so
Yeah.
I like, yeah.
The very fact that you mentioned golden ratios is what made me think that. But I mean, so it's a great point you mentioned, and so one of the things where we are, you know, integrating into our platform is ChatGPT technology.
Oh, cool.
Brilliant.
So we've got the Chat GPT version to interact with our clients, to automate that matching process between tutors and students. But we're also using GPT 3.5 tech to enhance the learning experience of students.
Right.
So before you come on, and I wish I could show you, but it's in development at the moment.
Yeah.
Before
get you back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've enjoyed it. So yeah, before you start the program, the learning program, there's a kind of mini questionnaire where we ask the students about, you know, their learning styles, their interests, and that's a part of how, you know, subsequently we will provide their learning program. So, for example, if somebody, if a student says that they're interested in ancient, you know, or Greek history, for example, we would then be able to use our current question bank, which consists of around 10,000 questions, to synthesize related questions on Asian or Greek history. That's the kind of thing we can do that via worded problems. We can also do that visually as well. So it's a great point you mentioned, and the whole point of it is to, you know, the theory is that, you know, there's a saying rather that if you spend long enough at the barber shop, then sooner or later you're going to get a haircut, right? The point is that we want to keep people on the platform for as long as possible. Immersed, right? Just the same way you have your TikToks and your Instagrams that keep people scrolling, you know, kind of mindlessly. We want people to, you know, engage with our platform as much as possible, and that's why we're doing that via cash rewards, via actually providing something that has intrinsic motivation, because, you know, cash rewards to some extent aren't really, you know, a way of, you know, kind of retaining your clients.
Well, I've got another question for you, actually, because obviously you're doing stuff with the BSV blockchain. So rewards could be NFT certificates and things as well, which could go into a wallet, and then you can. Is that something you're working on? You've got a big smile on your face there, Michael.
Yeah. I mean,
that would make sense. Yeah,
we've definitely discussed NFTizing certificates. We've discussed, you know, looking at credentialing. That's a proposition that looks very interesting to us, especially as, you know, we've spoken a lot about functional skills today, and how
this is it. You know, like a financial course could be taken by anyone at any point in their life, and they'd get a lot from it.
I'm also thinking as well, when you do go for job interviews, a lot of people do want to see your certificates. So if you've got your wallet on your phone and your certificates are in your wallet, or, you know, on your phone, it's like there's, you know, these, instead of having to print them off, find them and everything, it's all in one place as well. So you know, it's right there.
I think the idea of, to start with, the storage aspect of it, and the fact that it's good, the data is, there forever, it does have value in itself. But I think credentialing skills is something that is on the rise. I think that, for example, if you are an employer that is only looking for developers with skills in React,
Yeah.
you would rather have an applicant that has micro credentials in React over someone who's just got a computer science degree. It's very broad, right? Because to the employer, it will save time and cost of training to actually skill that person to be able to carry out the relevant job. So it's definitely an area we're looking at. At the moment, we're focused on the predictive grades platform, which is very sort of AI focused. But yeah, there's some great things we can do with blockchain. We see it rather as an enabler than the core part of our business. But yeah, there's some exciting things we're thinking of. We're also thinking of community, leveraging our community, and using it as almost a marketplace to encourage our community to create content for the community and NFTize that content, using like a voting system by the community. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that we are thinking about in the blockchain. For now, I think we've looked at blockchain and whether it's kind of pushes our USP, which is essentially personalized learning, which is a very broad term. But we see that it's more of an enabler than for our USP.
Can I chip in? This is a big hobby horse of mine, and people don't always agree with me about this, but I feel really strongly that the value proposition of universities has really gone down lately. Like, to dedicate 3 years of your life, and I don't like £60,000 and the rest, to getting this qualification that maybe didn't really train you to do anything in particular. You know what I mean? It's not making as much sense as it used to. So I think this is really terrific, like you say, about credentialing, for people to be able to pick and choose from a menu of skills that they want to acquire, and acquire them at a reasonable cost, at their own pace, in their own home. Like, there's so much there.
It does, because it does open it up to markets as well.
Does.
Like, did they say
have a job at the same time? And like, the world's changing, and I just think it can't happen quick enough for me in terms of education. I think that the universities have really either got to make some real changes or accept that their day in the sun is maybe behind them. You know what I mean? It's your time now, I think.
I think there are unis already that are uptaking credentials. I can't remember the name of a few of the unis, but I think that you're right. I mean, it will save cost as well to students. Students are paying through the roof to learn
crazy,
that they will never ever use in the real world. I mean, I'm a maths graduate. I mean, there's a whole bunch of skills that there's a whole bunch of topics that we did that I really doubt that I've ever used them. I mean, I did a lot of abstract algebra, like Galois theory, and I guess one thing you can take from maths, learning my degree was the lateral thinking side and being able to apply your knowledge. But in terms of direct skills that can be deployed into the workforce, I think that there needs to be more done in the way of that. So credentialing, I think, is a great solution.
I agree. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
How many people you can actually reach as well with a platform that's online, like you say. I mean, I would, because I have a kind of connection with Nigeria, I'd love to see more children in Africa being able to access these kind of skills as well, this skill set, and being able to just know that they can get involved as well, and they're not limited in any way. That and once that's a realization, then there's so much opportunity out there for them. I think
Yeah.
you're amazing. I really do. I think you're amazing. I think your product is amazing. I think your presentation was absolutely
Yeah,
beautiful.
I agree.
And I think what you're doing is so needed in the world that I like, hats off to you. Seriously. I really wish you the best of luck. And you are going to be literally in 20 years' time. You will be the
Yeah.
Johnny Ball of the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I have an opportunity with a big platform to kind of
Go
show my
big. Yeah.
show my face on camera a lot. I'm not very friendly with the camera. But yeah, for me, it's about the impact. What can I do that can cause an impact on a large scale? And whether it's me in front of that or someone else, it doesn't really concern me. As long as I know that I've helped people. And because, as I said at the start of the conversation, there are thousands, if not millions, of people like me who could be so great right now.
Yeah. You just need the right opportunity, the right person to show you the light,
The right mentoring.
Yeah.
It's like dropping a stone into a lake and watching the ripples, isn't it? Like you're sending ripples out into the universe here. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's extremely, for me, it's extremely fulfilling to be able to help so many people. Like, as you know, it's my juice. It makes me feel good when I know that, we've managed to get someone from a B to an A or a B to an A star. I guess, there are several metrics of success. The one that's the most tangible is grades. And that's why we're very focused on grades. But we're also looking at things like engagement, confidence. Confidence is massive.
It's massive. It's so massive.
And,
it does make a lot of difference.
Yeah, as we continue to move forward in the business, we will be looking at ways to make sure that we key that into our technology as well.
And let me just say, I moved to America when I was a kid, and I got put in a grade above where I was at because we start school at different ages between America and England, and the maths was so far ahead, I lost my confidence completely. So like what you say about trying to keep people tracking with them so that it's always challenging them, but they never feel like it's gone off in the distance and left them behind.
Yeah.
Is so important. And you could restore confidence to millions and millions of children just with that one thing alone, of keeping at their pace and tracking them. It boggles my mind, honestly, how much effect.
I mean, let's keep everyone motivated. It's not just the smart students that we are here for. It's the students that feel that they're too dumb to ask a question in class.
Well, that's like you say, that's the confidence thing as well, because a lot of do sit at the back and they're too scared to put their hands up or something. So I have a closing question for you, Michael, if that's all right. My question to you is, what is the most interesting mathematics problem you have ever encountered?
That is a great question. I would actually say the most interesting problem I am encountering at the moment is trying to get Airmaths and Exam Solutions in the home of students globally to help to upskill them, to help them achieve their life goals, and to help them to be happy.
That's such a wonderful answer. And it's a parallels BSV a bit, because Craig's biggest problem is to scale BSV and you're trying to scale Airmaths. So yeah, I think that's maybe a good
synergy. It's beautiful synergy.
It is.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much for giving us of your time. And when you get your platform up and running, I'm going to ask you if you want to come back and let's have another chat.
Absolutely. I would love to come back. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to sign my kids up as well. because they need it, frankly.
All right,
Awesome.
mate. I'll give you mixed rates.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much.
much, Michael.
All right, guys.
Bye.